Hello everyone and welcome back, hope you're having a great day and we're all doing well. I'm the R6 lore guy, and in this video I'm going to be giving you one lore fact about every single map in Rainbow Six Siege. As with all of my videos, this takes a lot of effort and research to make, so be sure to drop a like on this video if you do enjoy, drop a comment since it helps with the algorithm, and if you are new here, hit the sub button since we're trying to hit 100k by the end of the year. And with nothing else left to say, let's get into this video. So starting off with Yacht, this yacht was originally called Boreal. However, in a later update, it was going to be renamed Clark, and it is said that the home port of this yacht is in Charlottetown, the capital of Prince Edward Island in Canada. Next up we have Kanal, and I'm not gonna lie, I did struggle to find a lot of lore for this. The one thing I did find is that a Reddit user by the name of Rexdani seemingly managed to find an in real life counterpart of what Kanal is based on. So Kanal is set in Hamburg in Germany, but this Reddit user found a small town 70 kilometers outside of Hamburg called Brunsbüttel and found a port in this area which does look very similar to the version of Kanal we have in the game. Of course, a bit slimmed down and made simpler for gameplay reasons. Now, Kafe Dostoyevsky is a very interesting one. It looks near identical to the real life location of Cafe Pushkin, a cafe named after Alexander Pushkin, a Russian poet and playwright. However, Ubisoft have changed the name to Kafe Dostoyevsky, and similar to how Cafe Pushkin was named after a Russian poet and playwright, Kafe Dostoyevsky is named after a Russian novelist, Fyodor Dostoyevsky. And I recommend googling images of this. It literally just looks the exact same as the in-game map. Like, they've got a bakery which looks the exact same, you've got the pillars room with the library, everything looks so similar. Actually very interesting how similar this looks to its real life counterpart. The next map we have is Theme Park. Now, Theme Park is located in Hong Kong, and did you know the name of this theme park actually translates to Rainbow Amusement Park? But something quite interesting about Theme Park is that you can see a real life location if you look south on the map. Looking out in the distance, you can actually see the Victoria Harbour, and since we know it's in the city of Kowloon, you can sort of place it north of the Victoria Harbour on the map. A really cool background detail they did not need to add, however, it just goes to show the amount of effort they put into these maps and the amount of world building. Next up we have Skyscraper, and this one is kind of simple. Yes, it's obvious that it's a skyscraper at the very top of a high-rise building, but did you know that the map we play in Skyscraper is actually a mansion? And the reason why Rainbow got involved in this mansion at the top of this high-rise building is that they were called to neutralize a Yakuza war brewing above the streets of Nagoya. So this building is operated by the Yakuza, and that makes sense because, let's be honest, you have to have some amount of money to afford this view. The version of the map we play has a lot of clouds, however, I imagine on a clear day, the view must be incredible. Next up we have Presidential Plane, and a very cool lore fact about this is that this is set in Heathrow Airport in London. This is the UK's largest and busiest airport, and one of the several busiest airports in the world, and this airport does appear in the original Rainbow Six book as well, so that is very cool that they've incorporated it into this game. And who knows, maybe one day we'll get a map which is set in one of the terminals beside Presidential Plane, which could end up being quite an interesting map. Next up we have Outback, and the really cool thing about Outback is in the background of this map, you can see what is known as Uluru or Ayers Rock. This is a massive sandstone monolith, which is a very iconic landmark in Australia. So the fact they managed to incorporate that in the background of Outback is really cool. And it is just really nice when they include these landmarks and different locations in these maps just to help with the world building, and it is just a nice homage to those countries. Next up we have Oregon, and in Ubisoft's own words, it says, Oregon depicts an assault on a fortified survivalist compound. And as you go around the map, you can see there's traces of religious cults. You have posters showing apes saying, "Not my ancestor," implying that they don't believe in evolution. You also have a meeting room, and you have these different bedrooms, a lot of them for kids. It shows that a religious cult did live here. And although Ubisoft doesn't explicitly say this map is heavily inspired by the real life case of the Waco siege in Texas. I recommend watching a documentary about this story itself because it's an insane story. However, this was a siege that took place with the US government alongside the Texas law enforcement against a religious cult known as the Branch Davidians. This led to a 51-day standoff between both sides, and this would eventually end when a fire consumed the building, killing 75 people. However, for many people, this is a story of the government overreaching their power and has always been a big talking point about the government even up till today. I highly recommend watching a documentary about this. It's absolutely fascinating. But yeah, Oregon is very clearly inspired by this, so just think of that the next time you play that map. Next up, we have Villa. In its name, it's a villa in the countryside in Italy, but this is actually owned by the Vince Aguirre crime family. A lot of this has to do with Alibi's lore, and I've made an entire video about the lore of Villa, which you can check out separately. However, as you go around this map, you can see remnants of this crime family, since Villa is meant to be a snapshot in time of this crime family escaping the villa right before a massive raid happens. So as you go on the map, you can see a lot of this artwork and statues being loaded in vans. The place is in a lot of scatter and disarray since they were moving at such a fast pace. That is why there is, tables turned over, and it's a bit of a mess inside the villa itself. You can even find a room which was clearly used for malicious intent against people who went against this crime family, and you can see their logo plastered all across this map as well. Knowing this fact gives you a completely different outlook on the map Villa, and the next time you play it, you're gonna notice all of these little details now that you know a little bit of its backstory. Now, a house is a very simple FBI SWAT raid on a suburban house in America, and there isn't much lore behind it other than that. However, if you would like to count this as lore, house was the very first map we ever saw in Rainbow Six Siege all the way back at the world premiere at E3. The game and the map looked quite different. Still quite annoyed that they reworked this for casual only. Made zero sense. Bring back the old house. That was iconic. That's like removing Nuketown from COD. Yeah, bring back old house, Ubisoft. Next up, we have Hereford base. This is the SAS training base in Hereford in the United Kingdom. Again, this has links to the original Rainbow Six book, and this is a training facility used by Team Rainbow. We can see many operators using it, not just the SAS ones. We even get to see Thatcher and Dokkaebi using it in the Hammer and Scalpel cinematic. Next up, we have Fortress. You may know this if you see my Fortress lore video. The Fortress is currently under the command of Kaze, and this is where he trains many of his star students, and has helped build its reputation as being a very prestigious training facility around the world. Two of the students which he trained here is Nomad and Oryx. Next up, we have Favela, and simply Team Rainbow was deployed here to help pacify and regain control of the area. I know that sort of seems like a simple description and can be used for every map. However, what makes this interesting for Favela, that this is a real life situation which the Brazilian police and special forces deal with. There's a lot of crime in these favelas. I done a case study of this in high school, and it is very interesting. Again, something worth looking up in your own time. Learning about all this stuff in real life is extremely interesting. But basically, they would sort of eradicate these criminals who have a hold on a lot of these buildings to sort of help, free the area a little bit, make it safer, get people out of crime. And in this case, Team Rainbow has been called in to do the same thing. And it makes sense that Team Rainbow was called in because, the crime people who, are in control here, they're not low level. They have a lot of weaponry, and, it makes sense that even a team like Rainbow would be deployed for this. Next up, we have Consulate, and in its name, it is a consulate. However, something not many people realize that this is a French consulate in Abidjan, a city on the southern Atlantic coast of West Africa. Basically, a consulate as well as an embassy, these are sort of two different things. They do get used sort of as the same word, but they are still two different entities. But basically, these are like head offices for countries abroad. So for example, this one is a French consulate in West Africa. So if you're a French citizen, for example, and you're in Africa and you have, let's say you lose your passport, or you have another reason why you need to, contact your country, you can go to an embassy or a consulate. Embassies are more as head offices of these and are usually in the capital of the country, whereas a consulate is more regional and can be in different cities. Technically, you're under the law and jurisdiction of the country which owns that building. So, for example, in Rainbow Six Siege, if you step on the map consulate, technically France owns that bit of land and you follow the French laws. That's how they work all around the world, and there you go, there's a bit of insight into the map in Rainbow Six Siege. Next up, we have Coastline, and as Ubisoft says, Team Rainbow were called here to help safeguard the seashore of Ibiza in Spain. That's sort of as deep as the lore goes for this map. However, it is really cool how you've got the more party and modern aspect of Ibiza with the inside of this map. And on the outside, you have the ruins, which is more representative of the history on the Balearic Islands in which Ibiza is on. Next up, we have Clubhouse. A lot of the lore of this map has to do with Bandit's lore as well. Clubhouse is set in Hanover in Germany and is the base of the Hanover wing of the Hells Angels motorcycle gang. And this is the gang in which Bandit infiltrated and went undercover in, which is represented in his elite skin. So Bandit was undercover for years in this building. Next up we have Chalet. This was set in the Alps in France. Again, not much of a massive story behind this map. However, it can be said that this map is a little homage and sort of remake of the map Chalet in Rainbow Six Rogue Spear, a little homage to one of the previous titles. After a bit of chaos at this border, Team Rainbow were called in to assist the local law enforcement help regain control of the border itself. We're not really sure where this map is set. We've only ever really been told it's set in the Middle East, so there's a lot of different places where this could be. As far as I'm aware, we're not sure of its exact location, but maybe we'll learn that one day in the future. Next up we have Bank, and the description says that Rainbow has been called here to raid a major bank. So the story isn't, this bank has been attacked by robbers. Rather, it seems like this bank has been up to no good, and Rainbow are the ones raiding this bank. And let's be honest, you couldn't have a game like Rainbow Six Siege and not have a map set in a bank. It's pretty iconic for games like these. Next up we have Emerald Plains, and Emerald Plains is a country club golf course which is set in the countryside in Ireland. I actually really enjoy playing on this map, and I think it is visually very cool as well. You can even see a map of the golf course itself. So hey, if you ever want to remake an Emerald Plains golf course, then you can do this. Now next up we have Close Quarter / Stadium Bravo / the shooting range. The reason why I group these all together is because they are all in the same location, which is somewhere in Greece. The map is a stadium which was used in the 1970s Commonwealth Games, which was taken over by Rainbow and completely redone as it was sort of left to rot before, and this was built to be a state-of-the-art facility for the operators to live at if they wanted to, and a very main center base for them all to train. So the map of Stadium Bravo is basically a map put together for training. A lot of the stuff can be deconstructed and moved about, so if they want to change around the map for training they can. These sort of different modular pieces which are moved together to create these maps is also used in the Close Quarter TDM map. Again, this is set just beside the stadium, and this has been like a little training course set up by Rainbow, and in this case is used for a more outside combat. Same can be said for the shooting range. This is in a massive swimming pool, again, which is part of the stadium. Next time you're in the shooting range, take a little look around, because you don't realize you're in a Commonwealth Games swimming pool until you take a second look at it. And now that I just remembered, there's also a new training mode available with the current season, and again, this is a completely different new map, and this is once again set at the stadium, using those sort of training buildings which they can put together. Next up we have Nighthaven Labs. Not really much to say here. This is just the labs of the private military company Nighthaven, which is owned by Kaze. This is the labs in which Osa and her team develop all the Nighthaven gear. Of course, Nighthaven being a very big part of Rainbow Six lore. Be sure to check out my entire lore video if you aren't really up to date on that. Next up we have Tower. This is another Rainbow training facility set in a high-rise tower in the capital of South Korea, Seoul. And the final map we have here is Bartlett University. This is probably a map which Ubisoft are trying to move away from a little bit. This is a university in which the White Mask carried out an attack, which led to the reactivation of Team Rainbow and the squad we currently know. So this was basically the first point in which Rainbow was finally reactivated because of the attack which was done on this map. Now, this map is still in the game, but it's not in any of the matchmaking modes. You can still sort of access it in T-Hunt. Ubisoft haven't explicitly said why, but we can sort of lead to the assumption that they're just trying to not have a sort of school/university map after a lot of the issues which happen in real life. I know a lot of other places still have these issues as well, but I think it's just because, it's a school, and they sort of want to distance themselves from that a little bit. But with that, that is one lore tip for every map in Rainbow Six Siege. I know I said one lore tip, and I kind of said probably more than one for each map, so maybe I'll change the title of this video when it goes live. But yeah, be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about which one of these maps is your favorite. Be sure to drop a like on this video if you did enjoy, dislike it if you did not, subscribe if you're new. I shall catch you later. I love you all. Stay safe. Peace.